Morning, everyone, and welcome back. I must report that I'm starting to regain my energy. I really felt horrid this past week with really undisclosed symptoms. Body aches, one day my back, the next my leg, my neck. My blood pressure went sky high and then way too low. One day I had earache, the next my feet were burning. Yet nothing I could run to the doctor with because before I would get there, the symptoms would change. Anyway, I barely slept but took short naps during the day, etc. So, guys, I'm sorry if I was a bit low key over the past week, but for some reason I woke up yesterday morning and felt truly awake for the first time in about a week the moment I opened my eyes. Anyway, regardless of feeling better, for today's video, I want us to sit back, relax, and open our minds because today we need to chat as humans and as friends. I actually planned a whole different video, but changed my mind after I listened to one of Trevor Colt's videos, the one that I'm showing on the screen here. In a way, the video surprised me as I know Trevor to be loyal to his country and to the crown. After all, he fought for his country and still serves his country via his work with veterans. However, even though Trevor has not replied to any of my DMs or WhatsApps that I sent him, I also know and have learned through his videos that he is a realist despite his own struggles with PTSD. Anyway, in this video, Trevor questions Prince Charles's motives and intentions. And I'm not going to repeat verbatim what Trevor said because I want you to go and watch the video for yourselves. However, in this video, Trevor says and questions the exact same things I have been saying and questioning for months now and received a lot of abuse for. To such an extent that one day I mentioned to Paula M that I'm actually thinking of giving up on the Royals. At that very moment, I was not mad at the Royals, but at the very people I care about, those who are being lied to, toyed with, stolen from, and who are being duped to believe in the myth of a sweet old man who talks to plants and turkeys. Now, look, I'm not God, nor am I always right, but I have a huge repertoire of royal history, news, and sometimes 1 plus 1 equals 2. And I must also add that I try to very seldom rely on feelings, my own or that of others, but instead I like to put things together like a puzzle, and I'm so sorry, but the picture formed by this puzzle of Charles as a royal is not a pretty one. Right from his childhood, he stirred trouble in his family, complaining to his grandmother, the Queen Mother, about his father, Prince Philip, which in turn caused the Queen to have to choose sides and choose between her mother and husband. He, just like his son Harry, collaborated in a biography titled The Prince of Wales, a Biography in 1994, written by Jonathan Dimbleby, in which he criticized his mother and father, the Queen and Prince Philip, and he told Dimbleby that he felt neglected at home and abandoned at school, and that his parents did not cherish or understand him. Now, Charles was a 40-year-old man moaning about his childhood in this book. Now, does this in any way sound very familiar? I think if we look back at Harry's Oprah interview, it will surely ring a bell somewhere. Anyway, the book was also released during Her Majesty the Queen's historical tour to Russia, just like Harry's book will be released during the Queen's Jubilee year. Then There was the Tampon Gate or Camilla Gate when a private call between Charles and Camilla was leaked. This call ended in Charles publicly admitting to the affair on television in an interview. Then there were the spider letters, a clear indication of Charles's attempted interference in politics. And now we have the Cash for Honours investigation and scandal. But these, my dears, are just the more juicy things, and what the general public does not always hear about or talk about are the many other things where people were hurt or angered by Prince Charles. But let's just give you a few of these to remind you, as the list is long. Many of these items I have discussed in previous videos, but let's just go through it as a reminder. There was his friendship with Savile and Reverend Peter Ball, both sexual deviants. Then Charles vetted laws which stop his residents from buying their homes and properties belonging to the Duchy of Cornwall, and he has been doing so for decades. At least 100 residents on the Isle of Scilly were caught by the same exemption that Charles lobbied for. In total, at least 275 draft laws have been vetted by Prince Charles between 1970 and 2020 under the same procedure as used to get the exemption in the Leasehold Act. In 2013, Charles invoked an ancient 19th century right to send letters to residents in the village of Stoke Climsland laying claim to underground minerals and metals. Charles eventually sent out similar letters to places or villages elsewhere in the Duchy of Cornwall, among which St. Austell in Cornwall. Charles had been responsible for many an academic and professional losing their jobs or projects due to his interference or pressure or downright blackmailing institutions and government departments, particularly in the medical field and in the field of building and architecture. These professionals lost their projects or tenures purely on the basis of not agreeing with Charles on something. This has caused many to make public statements calling him a bully, foolish and immoral, and a man who overestimates his own intelligence. One of these people, Professor Edzard Ernst, was one of those forced into early retirement from the University of Exeter due to Charles's interference and pressure put on the university by stopping local support for the facility. In 2010, a complaint was made to the Charity Commission over a breach of charity regulations, suggesting that staff of the Prince's Foundation for Integrated Health had pursued a public vendetta against Professor Ernst. This was followed by an investigation by the Metropolitan Police into irregularities in the Foundation's accounting, and the Economic Crime Squad investigated the alleged fraud. Within 2 weeks, two officials from the Prince's Foundation were arrested. As a matter of fact, George Gray was convicted of theft totaling £253,000 and sentenced to 3 years in prison. So, if you guys were under the impression that the current investigation into the Prince's charities is the first one, no, it is not. Regardless of Charles's great drive for more sustainable energy, climate change, etc., etc., he is most likely the biggest hypocrite in the entire royal family. According to Stratos Jet charters, Prince Charles has taken the most flights between 2015 and 2021 than any other member of the royal family. He took 27 trips, totaling 124,213 air miles, of which 74% were private jet flights. Now, I can keep listing all Charles's faux pas, mistakes, and bad behavior, but I have discussed some of it in previous videos already, and the remainder is so much and so varied that to put it in one video is just virtually impossible. So let's instead go back to the present time. Just over a week ago, the Express ran a poll in which they specifically asked whether you will support Harry and Meghan should they return after Charles becomes king. Now, 93% of well over 40,000 people who answered the poll voted no. Yet, here we are, and what we thought was a joke at first, namely that Harry will renew his lease of Frogmore Cottage, has now proven to be true. It is true that Frogmore Cottage on the grounds of Frogmore House and part of the Windsor estate is indeed a Crown property, which in turn is managed by a Crown Estate Commission. Although these commissioners have the powers of ownership or similar to, they are still, however, responsible and accountable to Parliament and the sovereign, being either the King or the Queen, currently being the Queen. It is thus fair to say that it is highly unlikely that the Crown Estate Commissioners will sell or rent a Crown property without the approval or knowledge of the British Parliament or the Sovereign, or both. We also know that the Queen is still doing light duties, but that Charles is in charge of the more strenuous duties, the daily business of the monarchy, etc. So, it is also reasonable to deduce that he was aware or even likely instigated Harry's lease to be extended, and that coming a week after 93% of his subjects voted that they do not want Harry and Meghan involved in the monarchy or its business. Now, how can anyone explain that away? Yes, Charles or the Queen may not be aware of every minute detail of every minute transaction during the day-to-day running of royal business. But when it concerns a close family member and business, I would argue that they were fully aware of it. So why would this be done? Well, two reasons. Firstly, so that Harry will be domiciled or have a fixed address in Britain so that he can remain a Councillor of State. And secondly, for tax reasons. So, in short, the simple act of renewing a lease will affect two countries, let alone the fact that Harry, remaining a Councillor of State, is against the wishes of the majority of the British people. So, now what? What do you, the British people, have to look forward to under King Charles's reign? A feudal system under an absolute monarchy? Or perhaps a completely authoritarian system with the New World Order ideals and a master and slave or king and the suppressed scenario as part of the global reset program? And what are your options? Would a republic with a duly elected president be a better option? Maybe, but maybe not. I mean, looking at the United States and many other countries like my own, not necessarily. And in the case of Britain, I am inclined to say no, it won't be a better option. However, there is a third option for you. You still have William, who at 40 is still untainted by major scandal, and who is said to reign more in the fashion of Her Majesty the Queen, who has proven himself to be more empathetic than his father, and who is in a seemingly stable marriage, which also provides him with familial support from his in-laws and extended family on that side. One can almost say that William has a foot in both doors, that of royalty and that of ordinary life. Now, people are hoping that Charles will abdicate in favour of William, but he won't. However, the British government and the people of Britain can force him to. As creators, we can bring you information, but at the end of the day, we have no power to change anything. And nor do I recommend you fully base your decisions on our content. Instead, it would be in your own best interest to take the information we provide and go do your own homework. Contact residents of duchy properties and ask them about the prince's letters and exemptions from certain laws. Go read Professor Ernst's book. And if you do not have the time for that, then simply consult Dr. Google. But folks, it is your future we are talking about here. You can still vote your Prime Minister out if you don't like him. But once you have your king, you are stuck with him for the duration of his lifetime. So decide for yourself whether you are prepared to risk that with someone whose track record is not looking too pretty. Guys, I'm going to leave it here for now. I'll be back a bit later with a very short but more fun video. I just think we need to lift our spirits a little on this rather dark day and after this sort of dark, heavy video. So until I see you again on the next one, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.